Hey, Phantomaniacs! Welcome to the newest unboxing here on the Needless Things YouTube channel. It is Marvel Monday, which I don't think has ever happened before because I honestly just don't review that many Marvel Legends figures. There we go. That's no better. And I do buy a decent number of Marvel Legends, though not as many as I used to because I just cannot justify the $24.99 price tag. But this was a must-have set for me because this was my first ever Marvel comic, or Uncanny X-Men comic. I don't know why I said Marvel comic. Well, it might have been my first Marvel comic because prior to this, it was all Batman, and maybe some Spider-Man. So yeah, but this was my first Uncanny X-Men comic I bought. Now this, I thought this was the original issue, the original one that I had when I was a kid, but I think this means it's direct market, right? It would have a UPC there if I had bought it off of a newsstand, which when I got this issue, it was in Wilmington, North Carolina at like a junky tourist shop type place right on the beach, and they had a spinner rack. I bought this, an issue of Detective Comics, I think an issue of Swamp Thing, maybe. This was 1988. Yeah, 1988. This is late September 1988, so I guess it was bi-monthly at that point. Or wait, bi-weekly. Whatever. Every other week these were coming out. So this would have been right at the end of summer when we were visiting my grandparents. But apparently this is not my original copy because, like I said, I think it would have the barcode here instead of the Spidey head. But this comic just blew my mind with just the action, the weirdness, whatever was going on. The Madeline Pryor story that, I mean, it's crazy to come in the middle of Claremont's epic storytelling, especially right before Inferno happened, was just mind-blowing. So, in this issue, on this issue, we have the iconic cover of Wolverine infected with the Brood, or by the Brood. And this Mark Silvestri cover haunted my dreams forever and ever, and is my all-time favorite comic book cover, to the point where I have the statue that Diamond Select released in 2005, so 19 years ago. I've got 90 of 2,500. This, I think this might have been sculpted by Claiborne Moore, but if you told me different in the comments, I would not argue with you because I really don't remember. But anyway, this statue, I don't buy a lot of statues, but this was a must-have because of what it's depicting here. As you can see, how awesome is that? So, this 2-pack, I had to have because it's Brood Wolverine, and yeah, the last thing anybody needs in their collection is probably another Wolverine, but this was a must-have for me. And plus, the only other Lilandra I had was the head that came with Mystique. I don't even remember who this head came with, and we'll do a little comparison between these two heads in a minute. But I just stuck this head on a Black Widow body, and had always intended to put Admiral Haldo's from Last Jedi out. I'd always intended to put those purple soft goods on that just to give it something else, and never did. Which is fine, because now I have this Lilandra, which is very clearly superior. So we have that original beautiful cover art here on the back, and then we've got Andy Kubert and Brad Anderson, who did this inspired by art that, it is what it is. In the back here, we have Wolverine and Lilandra, Empress of the Shi'ar Empire, face the parasitic Brood aliens intent on consuming and destroying the X-Men. Well, that never happened, because Lilandra does not appear anywhere in this story arc, but I don't care, because I need the figure of her. But now what we need is some Brood figures. Badly. Like, a lot. Well, we need a troop builder, we need a queen. They could probably do a couple of variants. I don't know why you wouldn't do awesome, cool-looking aliens like the Brood that people like. To me, that's a Hasbro Pulse Troop Builder item. Do like a Brood 2-pack where they look like slightly different or something, or even they don't look different. They're the same thing because you need a bunch of them. Because if you don't know, if you haven't been able to figure it out yet, the Brood are aliens, like from the movie Aliens, Xenomorphs. All right. Nice little background here. Oh, actually, that's a really cool background. This is actual stuff from the comic, including the healer that believes he is the reason that Wolverine is saved, when it's actually Wolverine's healing factor that expunges his system of the Brood infection. All right. And the reason I don't review a lot of Marvel Legends, not to denigrate the brand or anything, but with Marvel Legends figures, for me anyway, my experience with them is, okay, cool, this looks as much like this character as they can achieve within the constraints of the budget and tooling and everything else they have available to them in Marvel Legends. Because there's so much reuse of, it's superheroes. So these little detail-free costume parts just get used over and over and over again. And while I do get excited by certain characters in Marvel Legends, at the end of the day, there are just so many shared parts and so much of it is not interesting to discuss. I'm happy to have them on the shelf. Ooh, his jaw's articulated. I didn't realize that. That's really great. So they're great to have on the shelf, and I love having these iconic superheroes, in my collection. But, boy, that's pretty disappointing. We'll take a look at that in a second. But at the end of the day, it's just not the most exciting collection in the world to me, to be honest, to talk about, to review. Okay, so here is our new, we'll go ahead and zoom in here. Here is our new Lilandra. So face looks good, right? I think this is the digital inkjet. Man, what is going on with my zoom lately? I can't get anything to do a nice zoom anymore. Might be time for a new phone. I'm sure that's not really the problem, but maybe. So anyway, but look how much better the new one looks than the old one. Wow. Look at the eyes, the painted detail on the helmet. Like the digital inkjet stuff is just millions of times better, in my opinion. I know it has its detractors, and I kind of understand what some folks are saying, in that when you get really super up close, which I don't know why you're getting so really super up close. Well, in this one, you can't really even see the granular quality of it. But anyway, like I get that some people just like the more traditional deco method, but I don't. I think the digital inkjet's incredible. And clearly I've got a better body now because she actually has her armor and everything, with really nice detail here. These lines are all sculpted and painted. They match up nicely with the helmet. She's got her brooch here that is translucent. Very cool effect. I wonder, let's take a closer look at, oh, maybe we won't take a closer look. That cape is attached. That's kind of disappointing. Like the peg in the, it's got the peg in the back. That's not enough though. You had to attach it. Yeah, that is firmly secured on the front. I would have liked to have been able to take that cape off. But at the same time, I would have been annoyed if the cape, this is going to be difficult, flopped around too much. So I'm hard to please sometimes. So really great proportions. Figure looks good. The metallic, they're using that not really metallic looking plastic that I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it. I think there's something better than this, but at least it doesn't have the, well, yeah, it still has the sort of whirls and loops and stuff visible in it. I don't know. I don't love it, but it's better than if it was just painted gray. Like, at least it is shiny. Look how cool, nice knee pad sculpted on there. And that's another thing with Marvel Legends, is to their credit, in my experience anyway, very rarely do you come across any kind of like stuck joints or anything anymore. Or at least I haven't, and my son, who is collecting much more actively than I am with the Legends, hasn't really run into it a whole lot anymore. So as far as the plastics, rigidity, and, oh, that's funny. There it is, yeah. The rigidity of the plastic and everything, quality-wise, like, they're pretty on point. So obviously, that's a separate piece, so you can move those wrist guard, that wrist armor, around a little bit if you want to. Great looking figure. Very, very regal, very dignified. It's going to look good on the shelf. And then she's got alternate hands, which I really appreciate. She's got an open sort of gesturing hand and then a closed fist, and I'll put one of those. I don't know which one I'm going to use. And then she has her spear of leadership, or whatever the heck this is. I have no clue. If you want to tell me in the comments if this is a specific Shi'ar thing, go right ahead. I don't know. But it's worth noting that it is the same sort of translucent golden material as her brooch, which is cool. So this is a nice piece. It's not just this golden thing. It's actually got a nice translucency to it. Nice and rigid also. So, yeah, a little flexibility, but it is rigid. It does retain its shape. It's nice and straight and flat. So good piece. Let's see how, as I'm going, I'm like, I should probably make sure she can actually hold this thing decently, which doesn't seem like it's going to be a problem. There you go. It's even got a little notch right there for her hand, so she can hold it perfectly. So great figure. Well worth getting. Not the worst. I'm mostly buying this because I want the other figure I've ever ended up with. Well, and that's not even necessarily true of this one, because as I said, I needed this Lilandra figure for this era. Not this actual story arc, but this era of X-Men. So cool, got it. All right, now let's take a look at Wolverine. Wolverine has alternate, we'll go ahead and just point out, fists for punching with the claws retracted. And he has, I'm so glad they stopped with the dopey insert claws. These are just, claws are out. They are rigid but flexible. So if you'll notice, they're not all bent up and wonky like so many years of Wolverine claws were. I prefer this. This is how I like my Wolverine claws. Although I will say, I do kind of wish, I don't know, it would be too much to have these three little things like pop out and be removable so you could swap out. But I do want to be able to put the claws on the fist hands. But at the same time, this is achieving a very specific look. And in that image, in that artwork, those hands are open. So it's fine. So let's take a look at Wolverine himself. This is a brown. One of my issues with, I hate this. Absolutely hate it. One of my issues with some of the past brown costume Wolverine releases is that they don't use a brown. They use this like reddish that looks good. It looks like the original Toy Biz Wolverine figure, but it's not brown. This is brown, and I appreciate that. I like the silver on big, thick red belt, silver on the belt buckle. As I mentioned, he's got the hinged jaw, which is great, and I did not realize that was going to be the case. So that's fantastic. And then all that extra detail on the head that is unique to that cover art. And we can do a little comparison here. I've got my son's most current brown suit Wolverine figure, and you can see the difference in the colors. And an interesting difference. So this one has brown on the cowl. This one has yellow on the cowl. So the yellow looks right to me. I thought the brown was weird. But in this art, if you'll notice, this is the brown of his costume, and it goes all the way up the cowl. Now, you can't see the top, but it does go all the way up the neck here, which I guess this one does as well. That's interesting to see where they've kind of delineated with that black right there. I don't know how accurate that even is. But then in the comic, once you get inside, and because it takes a while to get to Wolverine. But, oh, there he is. You can see Wolverine has the yellow. So the way that this older figure is done is actually more correct. But since we're depicting that cover specifically, I actually kind of like the brown cowl, and I think it gives it a nice different look. And the statue has a brown cowl. Now, it could be considered questionable, because if you look in the back here, it lightens up to something, and there's some artistic license being taken here for sure. But it's a cool, different look, and it also creates the effect that this Wolverine is darker in a way, which I like that as well. Otherwise, these are sharing pretty much all the same parts. You get the arms, obviously have a completely different sculpt because they've got that Brood skin texture going on. Really nice paint on all the Brood parts. It's not just like a greenish. They actually tried to achieve that mottled, scaly color look, I guess you'd say. I don't have any problem at all. Like, this is terrible. I don't have a problem with the fact that this isn't sculpted. Just use those shoulders again. That doesn't bother me. So we've got our nice, short, evil Brood Wolverine. My problem I was looking at the beginning here is the gloss on the thighs and the hips doesn't match. As a matter of fact, the hips don't match the gloss on anything else. So I don't love that. It's not the worst thing in the world, but I really do, I wish that was better. So let's see the ultimate test here. Can we get this figure reasonably close to the look on the front of the comic? And I think the answer is probably going to be yes. Absolutely, we can. And yeah, pretty much. I'll fiddle around with it a little bit more, but I mean, come on. Hang on. Pretty darn good. I can get the head angled up just a little bit more. Look at that. That's fantastic. I am not often one who wants just static representations of an image or an event in my action figures, but this is one where how cool is that to be able to recreate the, to me, the most iconic cover of all time. Like, for me personally, I'm not saying anybody else should think of it that way, but for me personally, that is a massive, massive comic book cover. And now I've got an action figure of it. And, you can go through and recreate some of the other scenes in the book with him running around being broody or whatever. But there you go. Great 2-pack. Well worth it, in my opinion, as much as I do think Marvel Legends are grossly overpriced right now. I do take into consideration these sort of special 2-packs like this that they do. Even though it's kind of underloaded with accessories, the specialness of this pack, to me, makes it worth the $50. So thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, share, tell your friends about needless things. And until next time, buy what you like.
Smash that like button if you like needless things.